Hi, everyone.
Hello?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
How
can.
are you all? Good. Hope you all are doing well. Glenn, could I ask for your last name just for the notes?
Yeah, white.
Thank you. And can you remind me, we might have communicated already, but which item are you here to speak on?
We're gonna speak on the roof, I think, and our gate.
Okay.
Yeah, and doors.
Okay, so that's for 92 West Simpson.
Yes.
Thanks.
Paulo, how many confirmations did we get?
I got everyone except for maybe Darren. He said he's going to try. So we have quorum. Mitch is going to have to pop off because his project is first, and we'll still have quorum if everybody shows up that said they would.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we just need one more person? You've got Grace, you and me.
Philip is on. I
Oh,
just
Philip
saw
is on,
Mitch,
sorry.
but we're gonna need Hope to do
Oh,
Mitch's project.
Is it quorum 4 of them?
Can you repeat that,
Five.
Grace? Sorry.
Is it 4 or 5 for a quorum?
Oh, it should be 4 because I think there's 7 board members.
Okay, then we should be good with Philip, Stephen, you, and I, even if Mitch has to fail.
Oh yeah, you're right. Math is not working for me. Okay, Desiree, are we ready to start the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna call to order the Barrio Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting for Monday, August 11th, 2025. I'm gonna do a quick call to order. Philip?
Yes.
Philip is here. Darren? Not here yet. Paolo here. Hope? Not here yet. Mitch?
Here.
Here. Stephen?
Here.
And Grace?
Here.
Perfect. Okay, item number 1 is review and approval of the last meeting minutes from July 14th, 2025. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Also move.
I will second that. All in favor, Philip?
Yeah.
Yeah. Paolo, yes. Mitch?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Great. So the minutes from the last meeting have been approved. See if anybody else has jumped on here. Nope. Okay, so we have 2 reviews today. The first review is 514 West 17th Street. I believe Gustavo Silva is going to present for this, and Mitch, you're going to pop off.
Yep.
Great, and we'll
I'm
let you know when
here.
it's over.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen.
Let me
Yeah. Let's,
make you co-host, right? There we go.
okay. So we're going to talk about an ADU in 514 West 17th Street. This project has already been through 2 courtesy review meetings with the board. I want to make one thing clear before we keep going, because this project has seemed to have gone like a bit outside of the board into like regular friends, family, and community. This is not my project. I am just here representing Mitch. Mitch is the owner and designer of this project. So I just want to make that clear, because there is some information being passed around the city that is not accurate. So the project is a new detached ADU on a lot with a contributing structure in El Hoyo, a portion of the historic barrio, the part that's all the way to the west side near the freeway. We're trying to do an ADU in the front of the property, given that it's the only developable area of the whole property. Given that it is on the edge of the Barrio Historico, our development zone encompasses the whole block, front and back. So that means that we have to reference and we have to take precedence from everything on the development zone. This is West 17th Street down here. This is the site. This is the house. This is the existing house. It's a pink stucco house with wood windows that are painted white. Here are some elevations and section of the house. You can see that the house height is like about 15.5 feet. And these are a bunch of, we're gonna go through the houses from the west to the east on West 17th Street. These are all contributing properties that we're looking at. With this house on 534th West 17th Street, we're looking at the window material and mullions. We're gonna use that precedent coming along. With 520 West 17th Street, I think referencing the way this house is placed along the street, the way the window interacts with the street is also like very relevant. It will be something that you will see in the ADU design coming along. Same with this one, the facade, the proportions, and the way the like square parapet works with the street. This is the view of the house itself right now. As you can see, there is no view of the house whatsoever from the street. It is just a void in the urban context. And you can feel it when you're walking down the street. These are the rest of the houses. And then on the back lot, we have 503 West Korea Street, which is a 13-foot high house that is directly behind the house, the one we're doing. And these are the rest of the neighbors. So the site plan, it hasn't really changed from when you guys saw it last. It is the same size of ADU and the same placement where it was. We're looking for a 0-lot development on the street front to complement and to complete that street facade, where right now that is just a void and a drop off. And some steps down into the property, leaving open the view from here directly into the house. We did a survey for the property, and so right now that floor is about 4 feet below grade. We are proposing to dig it down about 6 more inches to get to 4 foot 6 inches. And it's a big undertaking to do this dig up, because it is like, it will take for a lot of like drainage, because these lots get a lot of water when the monsoons hit, but it's what we're trying to do to get to the height that's appropriate. One thing that we had talked about a lot during our last courtesy review was the landscape wall that would happen between the property and the adjacent property. The board asked us to bring options of the wall with different heights and to see what was more, like what would look better. We believe that going from 13 to 10 makes it look less like drastic, and it happens like it's more similar to the way the street steps, but we are open to whatever the board believes is like the best approach for this landscape wall. As you can see, this is the front elevation from the street from West 17th Street. It's very similar, if not the same proportion as the one that we looked at 2 streets down, with a square window to the front. As you step down, we go to those minus 4 foot 6 inches, and then the entry to the ADUs in the back. And yeah, all of the windows are these like steel casement windows that Doug Thompson will fabricate. He does historic replicas of windows, so we'll get that. And then the house is looking to do a similar color to the 2 properties that are next. So like West 17, like the house that this ADU will be on is pink. The house next door it's pink. So we're trying to get a tone of pink that's like different to these 2, because these are already different in themselves, but another pink between them. And it will be smooth stucco finish that's different from like the big sand float that the original house has. This is how the street looks right now, and this is a very rough rendering, like mostly a SketchUp rendering of like what the massing would look like. So, thank you.
Quick question: is this a courtesy review now or a
Full review.
full review? Okay.
Gustavo, do you mind going to the section that shows the elevation there? Thank you.
On which elevation is the existing house here relative to this section?
The house would be, for example, here, if that makes sense. So this is the street right here, and the houses were like back where it says entry level.
Okay.
So in the floor plan, that section is going down through here. So your ADU is here, then you have that void with the mesquite, and then you have the house in the back.
Paulo, did you want to ask a question on this slide right here?
No, I just wanted to kind of see what the elevations were there. So the whole thing is 17 feet 6 inches tall from the lowest grade.
That's correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
While we're on this sheet, what is the precedent for these kind of what seem to be random window placements? Especially on
I think
the left too.
the windows are not random placed. They're corresponding to what's happening inside the building.
Okay. Well, that's great. But the relationship between function and form in a historic district takes on a different kind of set of conditions. So, I mean, these would appear from the exterior to be kind of random.
Both of these facades are interior facing, so you'll never see them from the street. So there is no way for anyone in public property to see any of these two facades. The two facades that are visible from the street, which are these two, are the ones that have the more octagonal and like referencing windows to the rest of the barrio.
Yeah, the board is responsible for all views. So,
Well,
go ahead.
No, just saying that none of these windows have changed since the two courtesy reviews, and none of the window placements became a comment on previous reviews. So just wondering why now it becomes a comment.
Actually, fenestration was brought up in at least one courtesy review, Gustavo.
But not the placement of it.
Okay. So I want to read from the UDC section on height and massing. It's UDC 5.8.9B-B.3, height and massing. Proposed new construction must not exceed the height of the tallest contributing property in the development zone of the same typology. UDC 589B3, new construction or alterations or additions to a non-contributing property shall be constructed no higher than the tallest contributing property located within the development zone and shall generally conform to the typical height within the development zone. The building on Carrillo, that architecture is not of the same typology. That is a Pueblo Revival building where the parapet is not continuous. And so I also want to read from our design guidelines.
Just for accuracy, typology is not style, right? You can't exchange those two words, Stephen. One is typology is residential versus style would be what you're referring to. So yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected. Hold on. So these are, I'm going to read some excerpts from our design guidelines, which, by the way, Mitch helped develop and approved by consensus. So he's heard.
Question, these guidelines are the ones that have not been approved by the city yet, right? So they're not into effect, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, just making sure.
So on height, page 17, new construction design standards. On height, it says, for example, a parapet roofed structure cannot be directly compared to a gabled or hipped roof structure as their perceived massing differs significantly. Further down, it says, similarly, a Spanish colonial, Mission Revival, or Pueblo Revival building with a roof line that varies in height should not have its maximum height be used as precedent for a building with a uniformly linear parapet with no variation in its height. That's that's one aspect that this board has kind of defined as a guideline. Further down, it says the prevailing height, not the tallest structure in the development zone, will be used as the basis for compatibility. Barrio Historico is predominantly composed of one-story buildings, making lower scale development the most appropriate approach. And it goes on there. So I'm questioning the precedent of the 13-foot high Pueblo Revival building as you're relating it to this building. And the mass, also that building on Carrillo has about a 7-foot setback on it. And as you look at it from the front and the side, the massing is not dominant. This building seems dominant to me. And also, you know, an ADU is an accessory building. And it feels to me like you're making this the dominant building. So I just have serious questions about the height. I mean, the buildings down the street are, they average 10 foot 3 inches. And we can't count the hipped or parapet roofs down farther. But the 4 buildings that you've cited with parapets, those are 9 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, 10 foot 9, and 10 foot 4. That averages out to 10 foot 3. And just basically, as you look at the elevation on the block face, this building dominates. And it doesn't seem to me to honor the kind of modest, humble neighboring houses on the block.
I think those are all valid points, Stephen. I also think as of right now, your design guidelines state that you can use the highest point of the structure in the development zone. So we are referencing the highest point of the structure in the development zone. So I understand that like that's not what the board wants to do moving forward. Unfortunately, this review is not coming to you in a year, it's coming to you now. And as of now, those guidelines are not approved. So we have to comply and we have to review this ADU within the existing guidelines.
So finger in the eye, basically, is what you're saying. I mean,
I'm saying the Barrio did guidelines at a point, and this project was done before those guidelines. So I understand you want to change the way you review that, and I understand also that the way you made those guidelines was based on reviews you were doing at the moment. So it is not fair to review a project with rules you made for a project similar or the same. So I just think that like as of right now, this ADU complies with the guidelines and the rules of the UDC for height.
Shall generally conform to the typical height within the development zone. That's what the UDC says.
Philip, Grace, what is your take on this?
Well, I think the height is the only issue. Otherwise, I think it's actually a really nice architectural proposition. In terms of how it fits into this elevation, in the way it has a simplicity, but also is very of its time. It's both end, right? It's the historic barrio, but also it distinguishes as we normally would require. I think there's I mean, it's very subtle, you know, this whole dominating or not dominating and so on. All these structures are on the front of the road, and I think they're proposing less than 3 feet higher than the average height. It's a subtle proposition. Plus, it's matching another structure in their development zone. So I don't see this the big issue that I'm hearing here. But I wonder if what the height would be that would be acceptable, right? Is that those 10 feet something, or where does it fall in order to be acceptable height? And I don't think it would hurt the architecture to be a bit lower. But otherwise, I think especially the side plan is pretty good.
Gustavo,
From an
can you
architecture,
move it up a little bit so we could see the street elevation? Okay.
yeah. Here you
Okay,
go.
good. Thank you. Thank you. Grace?
You can
Yeah, I agree that the height doesn't bother me so much, but I think what really stuck in my mind from what Stephen was saying is that this is an accessory structure. It's certainly not behaving like one in this elevation.
But it's an
And I
ADU,
know,
right? Which is a bit
But,
different.
yeah, like
right, but
ADUs
it's
are
not a
not meant to be
shed, right?
accessory structures. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I think we went through this in the courtesy review, but I mean, would it be possible to match the height of the adjacent building and still achieve your interior second floor? No, right?
No, I think like where we've gone is like we've reduced already over a foot and a half of elevation, both by digging and by the structure itself. As of right now, like because of like floor everything, like we are at a minimum, and like even if you saw a section of our parapet, like we have less than a foot of parapet left. So like we are really like scraping the inches to get it to work.
But I'm sorry, but that's not our, that can't be our issue. We're mandated to protect the, historical integrity of this neighborhood. This is a National Register Historic District. And I just, also a lot of the design standards, the TSM standards have a lot of overlap with our design guidelines. And I'm not sure if what I'm going to read now is an overlap, but we did take a lot of our verbiage from the TSM.
What's TSM, Stephen?
Technical Standards Manual. It's another part of the historic ordinance that is supposed to guide design within the district. And it talks about primary buildings versus secondary buildings. And I just want to point out again, this project is billed as an accessory building, but it's in a primary position on the block.
Exactly. But that's why I think we're missing the mark. This is not a secondary building. This is the main building on this property in the future. And already now that, this is just one of those exceptional lots that we can't just, use our common rationale that we have on a standard lot, let's say. Because on this lot is the only lot where the ADU, or actually the one next to it, would have to do the same. But the ADU is in the front, and I don't think we can just call this accessory structure and so on, because it's a different condition. They don't have another option to put the structure than in the front. So it becomes the main.
I don't disagree with
building of the lot, right? You can't.
Yeah.
They can't. If they build something there, it's always going to block the main structure. So this is going to be the main building to the front.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them building an ADU, as cited. My problem is that this building does not honor the the neighboring, the context it's in. In some proportioning, yes. But it just, it just doesn't, it's, to me, it violates, I mean, the safest thing you could do on this lot and preserve your contributing status on your actual charming historic house is, work off of that house design-wise. That would be so nice and so appropriate.
I also think one of the parts of the ADU code and the board has been pushing is you don't want the ADUs to be a mini-me and a replica of the old house. You want them to distinguish themselves and be something different. In this case, none of the houses that are fronting West 17th Street with a 0 lot setback have the design of the main house. They all have a square off parapet with the proportions we're proportioning. So we are playing with the neighborhood. Because if we were to put the house itself at the front, then it would be a disruption with the way the neighborhood works. Because this is, as you can see in the elevation, it's mostly square off parapets with square proportion facades.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. You're right on that. I'm just saying, yeah. So another, so for a primary building in the TSM standards, one of the bullet points is emphasize front entrances and orient them to the main street. You can look that up. And then, so if this is a secondary building, I'm going to read down, pass over some bullet points here. But it says secondary build, this is in the standards, secondary buildings, for example, guest houses, garages, etc., should be constructed in the rear of the property and should not be attached to the primary structure. If the primary building is historic, an additional secondary building should be differentiated yet compatible. Another bullet point, massing, scale, materials, surfaces, details, and style should be compatible and relate to the primary contributing structures on the site. So, so I'm okay with the kind of blocky look of this. That, it mocks the neighbors, 2 or 3 neighbors to the west. I just think it's too big, and I personally have a problem with the scale of the steel casement issues, steel casement windows. I also have a issue with what seems to be random placement of the windows in 2 of the facades. Is there precedent for a steel casement door? I don't, anywhere in the neighborhood, anywhere in the development zone. But let's just go back to height, since that seems to be something that some people may have a problem with.
Can I, Mr. Chair and members of the board, can I ask a question? Just because I know this has come through for 2 courtesy reviews. So just to recap, this property is a contributor to the district, but the contributing building is at the rear of the parcel. And so this proposed ADU would be built in front of that contributing building, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Can
I ask about that?
Yeah, so I mean, my understanding is if there's a building that's going to be built in front of the contributor, that contributor could potentially lose its contributing status. So just curious if that discussion has already happened, and what did that conversation?
I was wondering that
like?
too, because there's a line about that on page 2, Gustavo, I think, and it says confirm that the principal structure will retain contributing status. And I can't tell if you're saying that you have confirmed that or that needs to be confirmed.
That needs to be confirmed. We thought that's something the board would confirm.
I'm not sure that's up to us. I would have doubts about it. And by the way, a tree doesn't, the fact that a tree is obscuring it right now doesn't really mean anything. So Desiree, can you comment on this? Who would make this decision?
Yeah, I think it is something, because it's also a National Register district. It's something we'd probably want to hear from SHPO, right? Because the property owner could, if they're getting the property tax deduction, I mean, they could potentially lose that. I don't know if that's something they care about, but that is a possibility if it loses contributing status. I mean, generally speaking, if you can't see the facade of the contributing building, then it loses its status. So that would be my hunch.
What if
Um,
the owner is okay with losing the contributing status?
With delisting, you said?
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
think we're
That
in a
would
housing
be-
crisis. We're in a housing crisis, Stephen, and it's more important to build housing.
Uh,
So if by not touching the back structure, we'll
Mhm.
lose the contributing property, the owner has stated that they would be interested in following that path. What
well,
would
I
the
would,
procedure be then, Desiree?
that I don't know off the top of my head. It's something that has come up recently, and the code doesn't have a process for that for our local delisting, essentially. Um, for National Register, I mean, it would just lose if it was approved, it would just lose it, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you would go apply for it. So,
you know, I have to say,
yeah.
owning a historic building in a National Register Historic District comes with some responsibility. It comes with responsibility to the neighbors and the city of Tucson, actually, in this case. And choosing to delist a contributing building would be, I just think that would be flat out wrong. I mean, that just does a disservice to our historic district.
Yeah, I don't think
I mean,
that's at all the purpose of what we're doing here, Gustavo, you know? That's the
And I-
absolute opposite
That's
of what
that's not
I
what we're
think
trying
our
to do.
proper-
Like
yeah, what a
that's
property owner, but I think the argument would be, you know, I mean, I think we should approve something that we think will not lose the listing. I mean, that's the ambition, right? I mean, yeah.
Hope.
the reality is we talked about this in the courtesy review. Like the view of the house is still there. This is all open view to the house. So more than 75% of the view of the house is still there once you're walking on the street.
Yeah, that should be your answer, not, you know, not a nonchalant
mm,
reaction to the
yeah, and then sorry, go ahead. The other thing I would note, Secretary of the Interior Standards says, new additions, new accessory structures right to the primary building should be subordinate. And so typically subordination is found through placement, right? Like location. So in this case, we have constricted location placement. I mean, it has to go somewhere in front. So I think the fact that it's at the side works. The height, I mean, again, subordination usually means, at the same height or lower in height. So I mean, those are things that I think if we took it to SHPO, try to make the case, look, you can still see the primary home, that's the contributing building, and it is subordinate. Perhaps that's the case that we would make.
I guess what could happen is if that's the case, like we could take this side setback down to like 5 feet. It would still comply with like setbacks. You could still enter this like side courtyard and it would leave more open space of the house. That's something we could do.
Okay.
Subordinate, I mean, then it would seem, Gustavo, if I understand what you're saying, it would be subordinate. And I think that is what we're after here.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's so. It cannot be subordinate.
Yeah.
This what Desiree is referencing is a different kind of lot. You know, here it becomes the front building of the lot. And I agree, they should make an effort. And I totally agree, Gustav. I would have suggested that too. Move it further to the west to open up more of that view. But it's not that they are higher than the existing structure, right? The street is more
Yeah.
5 feet higher than the structure. So I don't know that applies for here. You know, it's it's an exceptional case, and I think it should be looked at it as such.
Hope.
Can I say a couple of things? So first of all, back to the historic register. Am I right that we are in the process of applying for an even higher designation? What is that called? Our national,
Mm-hmm. National
I
Historic
can't
Landmark,
remember what it's called. Yeah,
NHL or
so
National
I would
Historic.
be concerned. So I am concerned, if we still are optimistic about that and active, that if we have anything at risk of being delisted, would that impact that application? And can we, okay, so that's that statement. The height issue. First of all, for everybody's sake, I would love moving forward whenever we get a new proposal to have highlighted changes so that we don't have to remind ourselves where we were before. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it's hard for me to track where we were, where we started, and where we are now. Can someone tell me how we decide the height that we need to judge off of? Because I think it's like an average, you said, Stephen, if we can only look at our existing guidelines, what does that say and where is this proposal?
Well, I mean, if we don't even have to look at our existing guidelines. The UDC section on height and massing ends by saying, and shall generally conform to the typical height within the development zone.
Okay, so what's that height?
Well, at least on the block
Have
face,
we figured it out?
it's 10
Mhm.
10 feet 3 inches. I mean, if you want to consider the building around the other side, it probably goes up by a couple inches, but I don't know how much would go up, but we could add that in. But I mean, to me, that is moot. You are on a block face. You are in a context of existing structures. And I think that you need to honor that block face.
But because we are at the edge of the historic district, our development zone is not a block face. And that is something that comes from the UDC. We didn't establish our development zone.
No.
So when the development zone includes the back of the street and we're referencing that height, like that should be allowed.
I mean, you could argue that, but again, and shall generally conform to the typical height within the development zone. That's what the UDC says. I mean, I think it's, if I were building this building, I wouldn't even touch the 13-foot high building around the block. I'm sorry, but that just, to me, it's just not a factor. My block face would be the factor here. And you can debate that. I mean, but that's just me.
Gustavo, what's the issue with going into the ground another 2 or 3 feet, maintaining the overall height, but sinking it 2 or 3 feet? I mean, you guys are already in the ground 4.5 feet.
Yeah, it means we have to like dig down the whole site. And then that would affect this neighbor because this neighbor and like we share this part of a yard and this driveway. So if we're to dig more, then that affects their driveway and their car parking. So like it takes their place, like it's just a lot.
But I think
How,
I think,
Paulo
I
has
mean,
an
with your
You
idea
mean
there.
steps
during
there,
construction?
I mean, you have
I
the
could-
steps there. I don't see why
Yeah,
it would
exactly.
interfere with that. I mean, I think, and I've been talking about this for a couple months. I don't think there's a difference if you sink it another 2 or 3 feet. I mean, you guys
Just
are
the
already into the
residents,
ground.
right?
You're gonna need
Oh,
drainage. What, Philip?
only the residents, not all
Only
the
the residents. I mean, the
surroundings.
steps
Yeah.
would be the same. They'd be a
But
little bit longer. And then you'd probably have steps going down to the front entrance to the door. If you sink
Yeah.
it 2 feet, you'd have 4 6-inch steps. And you'll need some kind of drainage there with probably a pump. But I don't know if we discussed this in the past. You guys are completely eliminating parking on this house, right?
yeah, right now the parking of this house is on-street parking.
Okay.
None of the like the only house like that's the only driveway. All of the houses
Okay.
on the street have on-street parking.
Got it.
So we could sync it. There's a couple of things with syncing it more because of the new accessibility code. your front step has to be grade with outside or less than 3 inches with outside. So we can't step down into the ADU. We have to grade the whole site down.
Yeah, but don't they give special exceptions to certain, existing conditions? I mean, do you have ADA access in the main house?
No, but I'm going through one right now where they asked us if we could pave from the street to the back house because that would make it ADA accessible.
But how's
So,
your
like,
stairway ADA?
what?
How's that stairway next to the residence ADA at all?
Yeah,
Not.
I guess we could look into that. I guess the question then would be, what is the height? Like when is it like what is the height that would be okay? Like,
Well, if,
I mean,
and what would dictate that height? Given that like that's where like I'm a bit more confused. Like if we lose it 6 inches, will that be okay?
I don't think
if it-
6 inches is going to be worth the trouble. I think you need to think 2 feet less at a minimum.
well, I mean, if you want to go by the Uniform Development Code section, typical height would be at least on your block face, comparing it to the 4 parapet buildings to the west, it would be 10 foot 3 inches.
But
That's-
then the development code also says you have to compare, like you can compare to, there can be height precedent in the historic guidelines. It says there can be height precedent within your zone. So when do we stop and like what makes it? And then like, do we count then? Is the board asking us to go through the whole development zone and find the total average and then that's as high as we can go?
Well, I guess, I don't know, typical height. For me, again, I would go with my block face because those are my neighbors. Those are my
I
neighbors.
get that, Stephen, but that is not what the historic guidelines say.
So you're gonna, thumb in the eye, finger in the eye of your neighbors. So, I mean, to me, I'm about community, Gustavo, and I'm about historic preservation and preserving, the integrity of the neighborhood. So that's where I'm coming from. And if you want to, I'll stop there.
And
I
I
mean, what
would,
if you were to drop it to 10'8"?
That's digging down like more than 5 feet.
Well, you already have that huge drop off right now. You'd have to go an additional 2'6", I believe. Right now you're at 13 feet, 17.6. If you drop it another 2 feet, you'll dig out
You're 11.
30 inches extra.
We would be at 11, which would still be above what Stephen is talking about.
Yeah. I mean, we have to come to some kind of compromise here. I do
the
think if we
current-
decide on 11, I think the patio wall to the west needs to be lower because it was just too close to the house height or the ADU height.
I agree.
Because looking at it right now at that 10-foot patio wall and the 13-foot structure, it's not overly obnoxious to me. But if we do lower, or you do lower the parapet of the house to 10.8 or whatever, 10.3, the average, that other wall needs to come down a couple feet.
And, hardship is not something we're supposed to necessarily consider.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the hard thing is from the last courtesy review, we did come to a point where like a couple of board members said, quote, we have no foot to stand on. There is nothing from the code we can rely on. There is precedent for this height. So we come back to this.
Wait,
And
who said that? Who said that, Gustavo? Because it wasn't me, and I don't think it was Hope.
Stephen, you textually said I have no foot on to stand on by code.
Oh, no. I would have never said that.
The
Let's minutes, because I've been steadfast in my position the whole way. I mean, I was kind of shocked that you didn't modify the design based on the courtesy reviews, or at least start looking into it. I mean, that was
On-
to me, that was a
if you
waste.
look at the last meeting at hour 9, minute 10, second 12, you say textually, I do not have a leg on to stand on by the code. So we go like after I went back and looked at the meeting because I was like, I think I'm going insane. But in the last meeting where we left off is yes, the height was contentious, but we understood that the height was a precedent. And the board wanted to look at options for the wall and see what make more sense. If a 1.5 foot drop from the top of the parapet to the wall, or if a bigger drop.
Those were not my words. I'll look at that too. I never, ever said that.
I think part of it is we were considering that building on the other street, right? It does have the higher and the roof line and the varied. I'm not getting the right terms, you know, and I think at that moment we were thinking that that should be included in the assessment, and I'm not so sure at this point, and that's why I'm trying to get at what is that height that we're supposed to be targeting.
Well, we should
Well,
include it
that's-
in the assessment. That's the development zone, right? I mean, we can't. And then at some
But
point,
even if it's on
obviously,
another street,
it's
But
in the development zone. That's what, again, the UDC wants. It's not like Stephen uses a word that I don't think is part of the vocabulary in these paragraphs.
Which is what?
The block front or so, you're saying?
Block face? Yeah, well, that's just
Face
your
front.
neighbors.
Yes,
Your neighbors on your street, yeah.
yeah.
And as far as the building on Carrillo, I mean, you know, it's set back about 7 feet. It doesn't dominate because of the variation in roof line. It doesn't dominate. It's not the massing is totally different than this building. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Nope, it's totally different.
I would
so
I
if we
would
don't
disagree. Like
include, are we back to the 10.5 or whatever we decided?
I think it's part of the assessment, but you can draw conclusions like Stephen said, you know, it's setting back, it's a different style. It shouldn't be fully considered. I think that's a valid position that Stephen is having there. And then what's the new height that will match more? And that's for sure match better the development zone, you know. And then that's a height that, I mean, that's this is our purview, right? To determine or to help determining that. You can go mathematical like Stephen did, which I think is a fair assessment. If there's not a good agreement, that's the best way to do it. If we want to give a chance for this to pass someday, then probably that's the fairest way of doing it, you know?
Don't get me wrong, I would love to vote yes on an ADU, Gustavo, for this site. I mean, to me, it just has to fit. It has to be appropriate.
I do recognize that it's frustrating if it feels like we're going back and forth. I'm not quite sure how we can fix that.
Okay, so we have a,
I
you
am,
know,
I am,
yeah.
well, I wanted to say I'm newly concerned with our like having a property at risk for delisting.
But look, yeah. Mm,
That's something I could look into with SHPO staff.
and maybe
And-
propose the option if it helps to push it a foot 5 inches to the west, if that will help them and will help the property. That's something that could still work and give access to that courtyard.
we can move more. We as a board can actually work on the setbacks. We can,
Yeah, right. We can move like I think as long as we keep between 3.5 feet, that's all.
yeah, and whatever, you have to prove it, you know, dominant setbacks in the neighborhood too, or in the development zone and work with that, right? But we can allow you to go below the minimum required setback if you make a case that you are working with the predominant setbacks in the neighborhood.
I mean,
Or in
everything
the
over there
development
looks
zone.
like it's zero lot line east to west.
Yeah, everything's your lot line.
Yeah, so
You know, I
that
mean,
would be okay.
I think, you know, the biggest issue is that the lot is so much lower than the sidewalk. You know, they're not going to be able to build a traditional ADU there that's, you know, 12 foot tall. It's going to have an 8 foot tall wall on top of the sidewalk, which is going to look awkward too. You know, so I think the overall solution that you have is a good one. I would prefer to see it, you know, a little bit lower and into the ground. I think it'd be more appropriate to the rhythm of the street facade. But it's a difficult lot.
Shall we make a
Anybody?
proposition for a motion, huh? Or
Yeah.
does anybody have more comments? We can discuss the motion then, but
I just have a quick question. So I don't think there's precedent for steel casement windows on every facade of any building in the neighborhood. Is the board okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
and are you sure, Stephen? Like, I don't look,
No.
development zone, I'm not firm enough. I didn't go out and check that. But if you take the place, what's it called? The old taco place on Simpson and 10th. I
Mm-hmm.
think that has steel all the way around.
That's true.
No.
Yep. But yeah, okay. Not in the development zone, but in the neighborhood.
Yes, yes. No, I said that. Yeah, but
Yeah. You know, I just have a problem with the scale of the individual panes in the steel casement, and I have a problem with the fact that, you know, they're on every facade. I just don't think there's precedent for that, but the board can, you know, consider that in however they want.
But it's 534. It has a couple of steel casement windows, and then is that a wood front door probably?
Let's see it. It's over here.
Those look like slide.
Mm. That looks like a wood front door. Those are
Yeah.
all steel casement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I think it'll look really nice and elegant.
yeah.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I would make a motion for continuance with certain suggestions. And those are to revisit the height per the discussion today. To revisit the placement to open up more the view to the principal structure. And I guess Stephen, I don't know, we can discuss the motion, I guess. If you want to add something or you want to make a counter motion to that.
My only concerns, and I don't necessarily know if just based on board consensus, I don't know if I'm gonna get anywhere with this, but you know, scale of the individual panes and the steel casement placement all the way around, you know, on each face of steel casement openings. A steel casement doorway, I think, is odd. And also the random placement of, or from the exterior view, the random placement of windows here and there. That just, to me, that is like a modernist affectation that is inappropriate for the neighborhood. So
Okay, so like, I would then suggest that you make another motion because I would not agree with that on my motion. We can have another, have a
Well-
vote first on one motion and then on the other, huh?
Yeah, I mean, can I just amend your motion?
I think you need a new motion.
I think I could amend it, Stephen,
Okay.
based on your arguments, but as I said, I
Don't want to,
don't
okay.
fully agree with it, so I'm gonna put out the motion and then we'll see what happens, right? Desiree, can we vote on two motions already, or do we first have to vote on one and then on the other?
Yeah, I think since there was already a motion, well, there wasn't a second on the table yet, but
Yeah.
you would need to vote on one at a time.
Okay.
Um,
But do we formulate both, or do we have to formulate one after the other, after voting on the other?
can one motion affect the other? That's what I think what we're asking. Or the whole process, or is just the first motion passed? Is that the only motion that stands?
Yes.
Yes, so if you take a vote, I mean, you can discuss like you're doing now and try to find consensus on what motion you want to put forward. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, Stephen, how could you formulate your,
Philip, if you just, would it be acceptable to just add to your motion
Mhm.
that the applicant reconsider random, they're not random from the interior, but reconsider the non-historic, I don't know how to put this, but placement of windows on the, what are those facades? The east and the
North.
north, correct? Is that
Well-
acceptable to your motion?
The
Oh, I'm sorry,
south.
the west and the north. Just asking to reconsider, and that kind of leaves it open and we can discuss it later.
Okay.
I have a question as the applicant. What
No, you
categorizes?
can't right now, but.
Oh, sorry.
So
Yeah,
yeah, sorry, Grace.
I was gonna, I think ask Gustavo's question, which is when we say reconsider, is there something specific? I think if we tied it to a precedent, so maybe to say each window configuration should have a precedent in the development zone. Does that sound reasonable, Stephen?
I like that if you do, Philip.
And is it all four windows or just the two? The one sitting on the ground and the one on the top left?
Look, and I have a problem with the precedent, Grace, because
Okay.
that's what I tried to say. It's so there is no precedent exactly for this, right? I mean, that elevation that I think if they, let's say they change it to make it more compatible, the front is still not fully typical for the, just because of the situation they have of being, so much lower in the back.
Right.
I mean, they can make more effort for sure, and maybe, and that would help in the next review for sure.
I just want to make sure we're tying it to something actionable because I know they've been here a couple of times and it'd be good to get an approval next time.
Boy, okay, actionable. Yeah, I mean, Philip, could we say reconsider precedent for placement of those windows?
Yes,
Okay.
let's add that to the
That
motion.
just leaves, for me, that just leaves it on the table. I can either make a case for it on the next meeting or not. And so I just think,
Agree.
yeah,
I
that,
don't want this to be thrown at us again next time,
Yeah.
I agree with you, yeah.
okay.
So do you want to reformulate that motion, Philip?
Okay. I need probably your help later, but let's do this. Motion for continuance, to reconsider the height, to be more closer to the average, no, not closer. I think it's their decision in the end, and then there's a vote, reconsider the height per the discussion. reconsider the placement in the site plan per discussion to open up the view to the registered structure. And to, I didn't write that down now, to reconsider or consider precedent for the placement of the windows. The placement and the division of the windows.
Philip and the board, do we want to understand the delisting, you know, if that's gonna be an issue in the next
Yeah,
reviews
that
also?
actually I had that in mind too, that we should have that in there, that but Desiree said she would do that, right?
I can do that, but it would help to put it in your motion.
Okay, so that then I say that the city and the owner would bring further clarification, and or the owner would bring further clarification on the delisting of the property. The potential delisting.
Risk of delisting.
Or risk. of-
Risk, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks.
Can I ask a clarifying question? By vision, we said placement and vision of windows. Is that like visibility from the street? Is that what you're referring to?
I think you said division. Were
Oh,
you
division.
referring to the panes of
Gotcha.
Philip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of making it maybe clearer or something, right? It's up to them, but
Mhm.
so that they can convince some of the board members. Okay. Anything else that we should add to the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, let's take a vote. Hope,
Aye.
Grace,
Aye.
Paolo, yes. Stephen,
Yes,
Philip.
Yes.
So the motion was approved for a continuance, 4, 5 votes to none. So Gustavo, thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next item up is 92
Ugh.
West Simpson Street. Desiree, who's presenting this?
Glenn is here. And we also have some representatives from Lazarus and Sylvan. If you all want to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Chair and members of the board, and Miranda and Rory Tuneman with Lazarus and Sylvan. Here at Jackson Cassidy, we're representing Glenn White and Mona Treadway, who are the owners of the property. We were here a couple of months ago for a courtesy review. You all gave us some homework, and so we're back for a formal review. And I've got some slides that I'd like to share, if that's possible, except I am disabled. It's a screen share.
Yes, I will make you the co-host and you should be
Okay.
able to share. Okay. Let me know if that's working on your end.
Working great, yeah. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So our presentation is much shorter than last time. I'm basically going to try to really focus on what we originally proposed and the changes. But if you have any questions at all or want me to expand, I've got all the slides from last time for those of you who were here. So this is a property on the southeast corner of Convent and Simpson. And the property includes a duplex on the east that is not part of this request. And then there was a carport that was approved a few years ago and constructed, and that's not part of this request. We're really focusing on some aspects of the main house and a gate that serves the carport. This is just for reference to the development zone that we use. just some pictures of the house as it is today. The three items that we brought to you in June were some window and door replacements that Mona and Glenn wanted to move forward with. This was a new request, so we were seeking out approval. Then there were two other requests that were part of this. One was a new driveway gate that had been put in at the time of the carport construction, and there was some confusion at that time. Mona and Glenn thought that that gate had been approved at that time, but it hadn't. So we're going back and correcting that. And then last year they replaced their roof after last year's monsoons, which we had monsoons. And they did not seek approval at that time, so we're retroactively going through that. We are in the city, we have a court case with the city that is basically held in abeyance while we go through this process. And we're helping Glenn and Mona with that. So with that, I'll go ahead and kind of address each three of these. The first is the window and the door replacement. For the windows, we had originally requested to replace all the existing windows with new wood windows. But at the suggestion of the board, it was sort of noticed, I think it was Stephen noticed that these were metal casement windows, and there was a suggestion that we just have those refurbished. We found somebody to do that, and that's what they're going to do is just go ahead and keep the existing metal frames, and where they need to refurbish the windows, that's what they'll do in place. So I think that still technically needs approval, but we don't really have any drawings for that because it's essentially coming in, replacing the glass where it's broken, and just rehabbing the existing metal casement windows. For the doors, our original proposal was to install some new Pella doors that had that didn't have any panels on the bottom, and your suggestion was that really we should be keeping some of the existing panels. The challenge with this house is it's got 4 doors that face 2 streets, and each of those doors is different. So they all have different numbers of panels. They all look different. So what we're proposing for the door is to really make them consistent. There's 4 doors, but they have a front door that is shown here on the left that they're going to keep. And they want to keep it natural stain color and not change it other than to maybe just sort of touch up the stain and freshen it up. The other 3 doors, they want to make all consistent with 2 panel doors. Also keep those as in a natural finish or acacia. They went through and they got multiple bids from several firms that specialize in custom doors. They settled with Butler Custom Doors based on the design and also the cost. And again, what they want to do is really now take 4 different styles and make it consistent. The front door would have 5 panels. The other 3 secondary doors would have 2 panels, but they would all be the same kind of stain, natural wood stain. So with that, I can move on unless you want to ask.
Rory, yeah, just a question. You said Butler Custom Doors. Is that the product you're proposing?
That's the manufacturer, the person that's going to build it, the carpenter that's going to build the door.
Butler,
Yeah,
like the very well-known company here in Tucson.
All I know is this is the drawing that they submitted, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're a local company. I don't know if they're well known, but they're the ones that
Well, if it's the old Butler company, they have very good quality. That's a
Okay.
good product, you know, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's maybe somebody, is it just a name coincidence or is that the old Butler windows doors company, you know, that has been around for.
I took this off the name of off the bid that's in the packet, or the drawing that's in the packet from them, so I think it's the company that's.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're custom made, yeah, not off the shelf, they're all three gonna be custom made doors.
Why did you guys settle on acacia wood?
It's a hardwood that would do well in this weather. The existing doors that are wood are just, I can shove my finger through them. So it was wood that seemed like it would work well in our environment. And the color is close to or almost
pretty
identical to the existing door that we want to keep.
Right. Any other questions?
I just want to say acacia's a relative of mesquite, and and it should hold up really well.
Great.
Right, perfect.
Are all the doors the same dimension that are being replaced?
Mm,
Don't think they're exactly the same. I think there's some variation. Glenn, do you know that for sure?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of inches variation in the width in them. And that one might be a 3.0 door and one is a 3.6. So, or a 3.4. So,
But there won't be any change to any of the molding. Everything else is being kept the same. It's just the replacement of the. of
yeah,
those.
that's why they're different sizes, because we're not changing the openings. And
All right, happy to take questions on this after, but we'll move on to the gate. So the driveway gate, this is on the north side, along Simpson Street. When Glenn and Mo had replaced this gate, they looked directly, we had a pretty long conversation about this in the courtesy review. They looked directly across the street at a gate that was approved by the board and through that historic process a few years ago. Really for inspiration for this and really as a guide for this gate. The gate that had been in this location before had been removed. We looked on the historic photos, Google Earth photos. It was removed by 2000, I think it was 2011. And so when they came in for security and for aesthetics, they wanted to replace that gate, and they looked directly across the street. The focus of the discussion, and one other thing we wanted to clarify that had been questions. There were some questions about whether or not there were any changes to the width of the driveway. There were not. The driveway width was maintained throughout this process. There were some questions about the change in grade. There wasn't any significant change of grade that was done when they did the driveway and the carport project. They replaced, it was dirt before, and they replaced it with pavers. So there had to be there was probably some very, very slight changes, but there wasn't any purposeful change of grade back then a few years ago when they did the carport. The property kind of slopes from the street upwards, so there's a natural grade change there, which is why there was a kind of a gap at the bottom of these gates. The discussion in our meeting a couple months ago focused on the verticality of these panels. The comments were that the panels weren't vertical enough. There were some suggestions about doing a kind of a fascia on the outside to create that verticality. Glenn and Mona brought their metal fabricator out, the folks that built the gate, to talk to them about that. They did not feel that putting a metal fascia on the front of this, they advised against it just because of weight and functionality. But what they did say that could be done is to add more vertical elements to the gate to correspond to what you all had, with the feedback that you had. So I know that we had a long discussion about that. I think Glenn and Mona weren't able to attend the last meeting. If you wanted to expand on that or make sure that what I just relayed was really your feedback and that's accurate, Glenn would probably like to understand that a little bit more. But what we can do is add some of that verticality that you all had asked for to make it to just kind of respond to those comments.
Rory, could you show the gates across the street? Or I think you have a picture of that.
Yeah, I got it here. Right here.
And I wasn't on the board, but do I understand that those gates were non-complete, those didn't go through review?
No, they went through.
They went
review.
through review.
These
They
did.
Yes, these did.
Okay.
As a elevation drawing, right?
Okay. And then also, could you show the image of the original gates that were, yeah, those. So there was no, so this only shows them open, but I don't remember a huge gap between these. These were built in about 1977 or 78 by Jim Matson, who kept an office in this building. And I don't remember a big space beneath the gates. And so I'm wondering, you know, I'm wondering if how much clearance there is for the gates to the current gates to open freely, and is there room for those gates to be lowered a little bit?
Go ahead, Glenn.
Well, okay. I think the quick answer is no. And the old gates, you know, the grade hasn't changed, the opening hasn't changed. So those old gates had a very similar gap at the bottom. And when the existing gates were hung by Cody Johansson from Johansson Metalworks, or I forget what it is. Anyway, I mean that was just where he said they had to go, so that when they're open, they're still just about, I don't know, maybe 2 inches before they would touch the pavers when they're open. So when they're closed, there's going to be a bigger gap. But I mean, they were I think they were hung on the existing hinges too, so that, yeah, the older gates had a very similar, if not exactly the same gap.
Yeah, so
I'm
maybe
pretty sure, I'm just asking because I look at this and it looks like the grading is different. Like those gates look like they're against the
It may
ground.
look like it, but that's a dirt driveway, and maybe there was dirt piled up against them there. But if you look at where the driveway comes to the sidewalk, it's flush with the sidewalk, and the existing driveway now is the exact same grade, flush with the sidewalk.
Can we see that photo of the existing?
So when it's open, if you look on the right, it's just a couple inches away from the,
Yeah, but when it's closed though, that's a much bigger gap than what's on the old photo.
well, I, I I don't know what to tell you. And in the old photo, it was open. It wasn't, I don't think we've seen an old photo of it closed.
No, right, but if you look at where the hinge is or the corner is at the bottom of the hinge, it's an inch or two above the ground.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is
that
different.
spacing's not going to change.
The corner of what? I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I know what
Bottom, if you look at the bottom right hinge at the
Yeah.
old photo where it was open, right there. I mean, look at the distance. Go to the pointer, go to the left.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know,
There's something changed.
something
I
changed.
mean, it looks like it's the far end of that open gate is
Buried.
on the ground,
That's
Yeah,
what's
but
buried.
which isn't appropriate.
no, but Paulo's point is accurate that the relationship between the bottom of that pair of gates and the grade is very little. Because you can see it, like Paulo pointed
But
out.
if those gates are closed, it's going to be not that far off from what we have now. I mean, in my head, that's
See
just
how that's
math.
right.
Even on this photo, there's a gap there. Yes, the question is was this gate taller than the gate that's now there?
I mean, look at that.
I
mean,
don't,
that's a 12-inch gap there. The other one's maybe 2. I don't know. I mean, it seems like the grading has changed, but there's not much you can do about that now.
I hear, yeah.
I
mean,
mean, so you've added, do I understand that you've added an inch or two to in brick thickness or?
No, it's exactly the same grade. If you, it's flush with the sidewalk.
Mhm.
It's it's the same
Well, it
grade.
looks like it.
We don't know
It
if
looks
it's
like
maybe
it's
sleeping.
sloped.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
exactly.
sloped.
We don't know if it's
It looked
stronger
like it was
slope
flat.
now than it used to be, right? That nobody knows right now. But for sure, if we had been involved from the beginning, then there could have been probably a very constructive discussion about while you're putting in the pavers of redoing the slope in a way that the gap wasn't so big. I mean, but that's obviously, as Paulo said, now a really difficult situation.
I guess I struggle with it. That just feels the gap, the issue that folks are having with the gap. I'm just confused by it, I guess.
But Glenn, it's very
I
consistent, the comments from last time, this time, it's, I understand that it might not, you don't resonate with it, but from
But
our
if
end, we resonate, I mean, we have some strong observations here that are not unrealistic, or they're not, you know, they're based on what we are looking at.
Glenn,
is there precedence?
our responsibility is to preserve historic integrity of this district. And so a lot of what we have to deal with is nuance. And it's a little change in something here and there. All those changes in the neighborhood build up and they become important. And so we're just trying to figure out how to, how to make this, this looks a little odd. And so I think that's what we're just trying to deal with here.
Is there an ability if they can add it to the bottom of the gate? I mean, is that something that might be acceptable to get us forward.
Hmm.
I'm not saying
How
he
would
Glenn,
that work?
but I just want
Well,
to.
Yeah, I think the problem is when the gate is in the open position, there's very little gap between the pavers and the bottom of the gate. And that's
Yeah,
where the problem is. So if you added an inch or two, that I don't think that's going to make overall a difference.
Yeah.
so does making the change to the front of the gate help with the aesthetics for you all?
I mean, I think it looks nicer.
Do we have a picture of what the suggested changes? Oh, this is it.
Yeah.
Oh,
adding these vertical elements. The,
can we see what it looks like now? Am I missing that?
right there.
It's adding a vertical piece,
At the
two
top.
vertical pieces on each gate, so that I guess it gives it the illusion of being more vertical than horizontal,
That was the,
which I believe was the issue that folks had the last time when it was compared to the gate across the street that this was designed on.
Okay, so just so I make sure I'm understanding, so this is the replacement gate. So these aren't real images. This isn't what it is now. This is what you're
No, this is
proposing.
exactly what it is now.
these were,
Oh,
These are photographs.
yeah, these have been installed. But we didn't get approval for it, so we're coming back.
right. No, I understand. So where's the picture of what you're proposing?
So, Hope, just so when we go to the pickup, they are adding here verticals. So when you look at the
Oh,
picture,
just
that's
strips.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the difference.
So that's what it would look like.
It has a bit more refined filigrane appearance, a bit more crafted, but not, it's not a game changer.
But it does respond to what you had, one of your concerns.
Yes, it's one way to respond to this. Maybe the most timid, not very far-reaching way, right? I mean, yes.
Yeah, but the other one was to put
Good
a
reaction.
on the gate that the manufacturer wasn't willing to do because of the weight.
The weight, yeah, that makes sense, obviously. They could also take out these panels, reduce the weight and just put panels in front, like a corrugated metal or something. That would be probably possible too. That would be much more likely to the fences and stuff we have here. But, there's different ways to react to what we said, Rory.
But I think they also want to keep the look. I mean, they designed these gates to look like the gates across the street.
Yeah, but look, the gate across the street is different. We weren't super happy about it turned out. That I'm gonna be honest, but we approved the drawing, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's why we then normally have another review when there's a new gate. It's not that this is you you just go ahead and base it on your own judgment and all that. That's why there is a review process normally, and this is unfortunately one of the moments when it failed, right?
And I apologize for that. I'll certainly own my ignorance around the process, and our only goal with everything we've done with this house is to preserve it, maintain it, take care of it. We're doing a ton of work on the stucco on the outside right now,
Yeah.
trying
I have a
to,
question on that work, Glenn. I
yeah.
saw some cuts on that west facade on the underneath the window. You have two vertical cuts in the width of the window. You know what I'm talking about?
No, on,
I took a photo of it the other day when I was walking by.
on the work on the convent side?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
there is the window that is, maybe we can open that facade. Yeah, that window on the right here.
The window on the
Behind
far
the
right?
tree, behind the tree, yeah.
Yeah,
You know, on the convent. Ah, yeah, wait, yeah. No, sorry, it's not this one. It's this one. You have some cuts here in the stucco. What is that
okay.
about? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, but you're not intending
I'm
to
not there
change
right
the window.
now. I
Yeah,
beg your pardon?
you're not intending to change the window.
No.
Okay,
He's just been fixing
okay.
the interior of the walls.
Yeah, just wanted to make
Oh
sure.
yeah, no.
Yeah. Because I think your metal window proposition is fully acceptable from my end. Your door position is acceptable from my end for several reasons. Now in proportion and character. I think you know, we all can discuss forth and back the species and if we keep it in natural wood, but I think it's a totally acceptable solution from my end. It's just the gate, so
Well, the roof, we got to talk about the roof too.
the roof. Yeah, why did we not talk about that today?
Because
We
we
haven't
have,
got-
It's on the list.
We just haven't gotten there.
Ah, sorry. Yeah, good.
Can
Let's go there.
I ask a question? I'm curious about this
Certainly.
gate.
Yep.
The installer, did they not realize you needed a permit in a review?
Apparently not. And you know, everybody, when I've done these things, including the roof and I said, what's the process that you know of? And nobody said anything about a permit, and my ignorance certainly showed because when I've worked on my properties in the past, when it's been things where you're not making a major change, you're not changing an opening, or certainly replacing a roof was never anything that required that sort of permission. So I, I,
I mean,
I
I think we need permits even outside of the historic review. So that surprises me.
Well,
to replace the
you know, if you're
to replace the
changing,
gate.
yeah, you don't need a permit for that.
place,
Okay.
No, also with a roof, you know, outside of the historic zone, you can replace a roof. In the historic zone, if you don't need a permit if you replace like for like. When you go from shingles to metal, you need a review for it. So that's why this is here.
There's a review required even if it's in-kind replacement. It's just a minor review.
Right.
Mhm.
Guys, before we move on from the gates, I have a question, a potential solution to hopefully lowering them. And I'm having a hard time picturing as they swing open,
Mhm.
and hopefully Paulo and Philip or anyone else, maybe if you could weigh in on this. At what point when they're opening, would they, is the clearance the least? Is it when they're completely open or
Yes.
And 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Yes.
that's what okay, so is it, sorry for this dog, guys. So would it be possible, Glenn, to just alter you know, you'd have a little wave or a little depression in your paving there, but would it be possible to lower those pavers gradually? I mean, it wouldn't be abrupt, you know, for, you know, tripping or whatever, but, and then we could get those gates lower. And so what I'm saying is at the 90-degree opening position, could those bricks go down a couple inches or 3 or 4 or something inches, and then we'd have a little bit better. And then if you're saying it's a 2-inch clearance, it'd be 5 inches lower or something. We don't know for sure what it would be, but would that be possible?
I'm having a hard time imagining it because if I lower it back where the doors are fully opened, you have to lower it all the way forward towards the sidewalk, and then you would have an even bigger gap when they're shut. Because
Oh.
just you can't just lower part of it or a few pavers.
Yeah.
Then you got a divot.
No, Glenn, it's a full regrading of the driveway. That's, I think, Stephen.
I mean, that,
Probably.
well,
Suggest.
you know, certainly anything is possible with all the money in the world and all the time. It's just, and I don't mean to sound flippant, but and I appreciate the brainstorming here, but that feels really cost prohibitive, and
May not
at
be.
this point, like that just seems like.
You've got a grade at the driveway and you have a grade at the carport, and unless there's a change of grade in between, right? I don't know how you do that without having some other negative impacts. And
Okay, just a thought. Just
I
a
don't think
thought.
there would be negative impacts. It's definitely feasible. And again, you know, in foresight, it could have been done. Now it's a big undertaking, obviously. Yeah. But Stephen, I appreciate, I think that's the right thinking. If there wasn't, you know, and we don't have to prove it, right? And somebody has to come up with a solution. So
I just want to point out that we went from some years ago gates that were open, lattice, you know, kind of you visually you could see through them, and then those gates were torn down or taken down, and then for years we had no. So from a pedestrian standpoint, from the public view standpoint, we had an opening with no obstruction, and now we have these gates that on several counts are just not quite right. And so that's kind of why it may seem onerous, and but that's why we're here. So it's not like we're trying to be, you know, arbitrary or something. It's just
Stephen,
yeah,
I agree with you, but like the open gates is also a certain time, right? And let's say this house has a different historic background, let's say, than the house you have, obviously, right? And as far as I saw pictures of the historic neighborhood, often these were closed wooden gates, right? I mean, the one next to us used to be like that, to that driveway, you know, where Bonnie and Craig live. That was a closed wooden gate on photos I've seen. And, you know, there was times when some parts were closed and some parts, I guess, were open, you know, the later houses like yours where it was very open. So I don't know. Is this one that should be open? That's another discussion, right?
no, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the abrupt change and then the ultimate, you know, kind of manifestation of what's there now is what's, I guess, seems concerning.
Yeah. Yeah, it is strange. It's for sure strange, this one. Shall we go to the roof? I mean, we can also approve in part or not, you know, we have different options here.
all right, so this had a composite, kind of a rust color, composite brown rust color. And then up until last year, Ramon and Glenn put in the seamed panel roof. They chose a color that the manufacturer had called just a metal rust color. And so that's how it looks today. They didn't change anything on the roof when they did the new material in the development zone. We counted about half of the roofs and have the same standing seam metal roof or similar. Well, at least half were metal and most of them were standing seam. And the colors range from silver, there's a blue one, a few doors down, there's a green one, so the various colors of these roofs. But you know, what the standards say, Stephen, you mentioned the technical standards manual, that, you know, if you have a majority of roofs, it's encouraged to sort of follow that pattern. So I think they chose the roof because of the looks and because of the durability and how long they would have it. So at the last meeting, really and here's sort of the natural rust. This is the technical sheet that they have. So the last meeting, the question, I don't think there was any issue with metal. I think everybody was comfortable with the fact that it fits within the development zone. It was just that the pattern on it, that the manufacturer has kind of a process that makes it look patternized, and that was really the issue. So you had asked if we could paint it, if there's some other things you could do. Mona and Glenn went out, they went to the manufacturer, and they went to first they went to their installer, and their installer emailed them back and said they don't recommend for maintenance reasons and to do any kind of treatment or painting. I think more importantly, their manufacturer said if you paint that roof and kind of coating, it's going to void the warranty. So that's a pretty significant, I think, issue there, penalty there. So, and then these were just some of the other homes in the development zone. So I think what this really comes down to is color. What they put on there meets all of the design guidelines requirements and the code requirements, because they've done this in a way that maintained all the existing features of the home, didn't change anything. It's really just kind of coming down to this color that, frankly, I went out there this morning again, from certain angles, you notice it. If you're really looking, other angles, you don't necessarily notice it, depending on how the sun hits it. So I think it's a fairly kind of inconspicuous color issue that that we're really talking about. Otherwise, I think it meets all of the requirements. And that is it.
Can I start with a question?
Yeah, sure, please.
Actually, it's for my fellow board members. Looking at the style of this house, is a metal roof common for this style? I know we have lots of them in the neighborhood, but I'm wondering about this particular style of house.
I would say yes.
I would too.
Yeah.
You know, I
Okay.
think the biggest issue is that pattern on there. I never took a good look at it until it came up in the last meeting. And Rory, like you said, at certain times of the day, it's less noticeable, but then at other parts of the day, it's very amplified. And I don't think we ever would have approved this pattern if it came through review in the first place.
Paulo and Philip and anyone else who might know this, and I only address some of these questions to Paulo and Philip because they're like builders and, you know, they're familiar with some of this stuff. So I don't mean to leave Grace or Hope out or anybody, but anyway, does anyone have a sense of how long it will take to kind of fade, weather, and kind of lose that, whatever time of day it is, prominence?
So,
I think it could be decades. I think the warranty
Yes,
they're talking about is against fading. It's not against leaks. So it
this
probably
is not
has
a
a
natural metal roof that will change over time.
Mhm.
This is a form of a print,
painted product.
exactly, that is made to last exactly this way.
Yeah.
That's the warranty.
If I could ask, just out of curiosity, because asphalt shingles have color variation in them, and this was previously an asphalt shingle roof. So I'm just curious why there's concern about some
Can
of that color.
Can we
You
put the
look at it
side-by-side
variation.
picture up?
Totally different product. I mean, if it
Yeah.
was asphalt shingle again and it had that color variation, that's one thing, but most of the metal roofs down here do not have any patterns to them.
And there's an absolute regularity to this pattern. It's not like a naturally weathered metal, you know, it's
Like a
in
screen
Dutch,
print.
yeah, it's like it's a print and it's copy paste Photoshop. That's the issue with this pattern. You know? Every panel basically has the same pattern. And then it repeats every 24 inches. It's a digitally produced effect that wants to look like weathering, but it doesn't, because it doesn't have that depth.
And, well, I mean, we can't argue against the fact that it is a repeating kind of manufactured pattern, but I will say this, the Paul, you mentioned you didn't really recognize it until you looked at it. I think that's gotta be part of that consideration too, that.
I know, but the problem is once you recognize it the first time, I always see it. You know, it's not like it goes
It's not,
away. I
not,
see it now that I've
yeah.
seen it.
It's not subtle.
I can't say that we were thrilled with it when we saw it up. We picked that pattern, or well, we picked that name, which I forget what the name was, because the rusted roof on the carport was approved by the board. So I said, okay, natural rust. And again, this was one of those situations where it didn't occur to me that putting a roof on was, I'm learning a lot. But that replacing my roof was, I needed to go through. But I stood on the roof with the roofer and we looked around and said, okay, what's up here? What's in the neighborhood? And that's how we picked the standing seam. And then I said, well, that the rust was approved for this other project. Let's go with something that matches. And that's how the decision was made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think our
I
issue is the standing seam.
I beg your pardon?
Our issue is not the standing seam. At least
Right.
my issue is not. It's the natural rust.
And I think the intent, I admire the intent. I mean, so that's the quandary here. I mean, I think your intent was great, but yeah.
And even looking at this piece of, I mean, this is hard, right? This doesn't look bad. That looks like natural rust. You have to look at the fine print below, right? It's a print and all that stuff. That's not, we get it. But again, this is why we have the reviews. Okay.
You know, I'm looking at some city guidelines here, and again, you construction guys know best, but I'm seeing that in the city of Tucson, a permit is generally required for roof replacement projects, especially when the materials are different from the existing roof. So the point I'm making here is, I feel like the installer really dropped the ball here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, working in a historic zone as being a subcontractor, if you're not aware of the historic zone rules, you know, I think it's more up to the general contractor or the owner to direct the subcontractor to look at historic review. Outside of,
This isn't historic. This is city of Tucson. And I'm not looking at historic.
yeah, but you know, as far as I've known, that you can replace a roof like for like outside of the historic zone. If your roof is 50 years old, they'll allow you to replace it. I've replaced many roofs without a permit outside of the historic zone. Not had a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right, that.
Yeah. There's
Sure.
no inspection to roofing, you know.
Yeah.
But if you want to replace one outlet in your house, you need a permit.
Right.
Well, I think that what I'm seeing here is the glitch is the change in materials.
Possibly. I mean, you know, in the past too, and Philip, Grace, Mitch, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember Jody Brown would say, because there was an issue with another house on Convent that reshingled, we were not allowed to review that because it was like for like replacement. And I believe the colors were similar. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. Really
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
So we, I don't know, do you guys want more discussion, or I would like to make a motion on the metal window and the doors to approve them. That would be my first motion.
I'll second that. Go around and vote. Hope,
Yes.
Mitch,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Paolo, yes, Philip.
Yes.
Motion for windows and doors is approved 6-0.
Yeah.
And sorry, can you repeat the motion, please? It happened pretty quickly. Didn't catch it.
To approve the proposed replacement or repair of the metal windows and the that's a replacement, right, of the
Yep.
doors. Yeah.
And the doors.
Mhm.
Okay. And that was Philip
Yeah.
and then Hope, right?
No, Paolo seconded.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
The motion I would make on the gate is not to approve.
I second that motion. Hope,
Yes.
Mitch,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Grace.
Yes.
So motion to not, oh, Philip,
Yes.
Paolo, yes. Motion to not approve the gate was approved 6-0.
So can I ask a question? What does that mean now?
The owner can decide. They can come back, or they can continue with this motion and go through the next board, you know, the commission. And then in the end, you know, depending on what happens there, it's the what's his name? The head of the department will decide, you know, will make a.
So can I ask, this is Rory, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, one, if there was a way to lower, because Stephen had mentioned even trying to get the gate lower a little bit by regrading, which I'm not really sure that that's, I don't know how possible that is, but maybe there's a way to lower the gate, lower the hinges, you know, maybe there is an inch or two of clearance there that we could get back. You know, it's worth evaluating. With
Rory,
difference in-
Rory, yeah.
The other question is, we talked a lot about the clearance. What about the design? I know, you know, I didn't hear a lot of complaints about adding those kind of vertical elements. And we just need some guidance moving forward. That's.
Look, we did not approve it. So you have two options now, right?
Well, come on, Philip, we can.
Yeah.
Pull back a little bit. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing
But
to
we
ask.
had a very elaborate discussion last time and this time.
Well, can
So
we
we
just,
can have, you know, we're beyond the discussion. That's the thing, you know, I mean, it's not the phase anymore in this meeting. So, I don't know, Desiree, can we open up the discussion again? Because we're in the motion phase, but.
Yeah, I mean, typically you would complete the motion, but if the chair, it's up to the chair what they want to do.
I think it would be appropriate to just give, you know, make some comments for their benefit.
Okay, Paolo, you're fine with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
And I'll start. I mean, so, you know, so the new design, I'm not totally thrilled with, but given the precedent across the street, I mean, breaking up those very horizontal panels into two, they're still kind of oriented rectangularly, which is, I'm not thrilled about, but it's better than it was. And I guess that's what I would say. on the design.
What
I'm
about the
sorry,
height?
I
So-
think it needs a fresh approach.
I agree with Hope. I think take out the panels and put new panels in the front that make it look much more barrio.
What about just corrugated on the front of it?
Yeah, yeah. But I think they
No.
need to reduce weight, you know? Yeah.
I don't think the corrugated is going to be that heavy.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
7 feet long. It's
Yeah.
probably at 20 pounds per panel, 25, 30.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I think, go ahead.
Rory and Glenn, I mean, it sounds like the board would want to see a couple of options. Do I have that correct, board?
I think so. I mean, I think the biggest thing to reduce the gap in the front, there has to be regrading done. I don't know if Glenn is willing to undertake that. I don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, those gates are 7 feet wide each. You'd have to regrade back 7 feet at a slope of 1/4 inch per foot from the sidewalk. But then the transition from that new flatter area to the existing slope, that might be something that his cars can't handle. I don't know.
I just want to, Rory, address something.
Uh,
The why I made the motion to not approve was in order to give you the opportunity to move on, you know?
Yeah.
You can come back, would be fantastic, right? If you came back with substantially improved design, right? But we noticed in the discussion that that's a lot of effort. And with our non-approval, you could continue if you wanted, but we would love for you to come back with a substantial improvement, you know?
Perfect. We just want to make sure we understand if we're coming back, we're not guessing. And I think part of what I heard there's two issues on the gate. What I heard last time was verticality and then the grading. And so I want to make sure that if we're coming back, we understand, at least on the verticality, what that means, so.
So I think if you were to redesign those gates, you would have almost you'd have tall, slender, vertically oriented panels. That's what we were trying to say last time. If you were to redesign it.
Or a general impression of verticality, like a corrugated would do, or something similar. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Want to make a motion on the roof?
You want to do that, Paula?
Me?
Phillips done
No,
it.
Paula, I thought you.
Yeah. So
That's
I'm
the
gonna make,
hardest, to be honest. Yeah, but
I'm gonna make a motion to not approve the roof, based on the pattern that's there. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Philip?
Sorry to say.
I say no.
So you're okay with the roof? Is that, just to be clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, I'd say I don't agree with that motion. I would have done a different motion, but now we're voting. Yeah.
Mitch?
No.
Stephen?
So a no vote is
Means you're
shooting down your motion to not.
correct.
We can make a new motion then, just want to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what that new motion would be. This is really difficult. And I'm in my mind, I don't know if there's discussion available here, but I am struggling with my vote, wondering if the commission would go ahead and overrule us and say, this is fine, this is, I'm not saying it's overreach, but they might say this is overreach.
They always can do that, Stephen.
Yeah,
And
so we
then
just leave it
in
up to
the end,
them.
it's the department head who will decide.
Yeah.
Boy,
You want me to come back to you?
please. Yes, thank you.
Grace?
No.
So now it's really on you, Stephen.
Oh, Hope voted.
I
Hope
voted
and I
yes.
voted yes.
Mhm.
Motion did not approve the roof. Philip, Mitch, and Grace have voted no. So it's 3-2. The motion that I made is not going to pass. One vote missing.
Wow. I'm really struggling. I'm probably known as a hard ass on this board.
No.
But I think I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. Motion failed, 4 votes to 2. Does anybody want to create another motion?
Yeah. I want to make a motion to continuance on that one and for the owners to propose ways how this pattern can be modified, how they can maybe work. I mean, I understand the warranty part, but the warranty shouldn't affect if you apply a color, that shouldn't affect the warranty. And they can probably, considering what Hope, I think rightfully said, that considering the responsibility of the roofer, they should find a solution with the roofer, to make this workable for us.
I'll second that.
Can I just ask a clarifying question for the motion? It's regarding so the motion was to continue the item so the owner can work to, what is the goal just for the guidance portion of this, if this motion were to pass? Is it that the color be like a solid color? Is that more of the guidance?
It can be a solid color or to break the color or the pattern in a way that it doesn't have this industrial or digital look. Not industrial.
Okay, so to avoid a digital
Yeah, the
pattern.
printed look. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Is it appropriate for me to speak now?
Yes.
Not really, but you can.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, and Rory, I don't know if you've shown the quotes that we got that I sent you from the other roofers and painters to find out about modifying the roof, but there was nobody who would. Everybody sort of laughed at the idea and said it would be the prices to do that were really high, and the notion that it would have to happen every few years probably was likely. So we can come back again and talk about the efforts that we've tried to make to change the color, but those I don't think they're going to change. And the roofer that we used that's a roofer that I've used for the few years that we've lived there has disappeared. Where I was roofing, they were great, and now I can't get a return email or a return phone call. So that I
It's
feel
a
like if I
very,
come back in a month, I'm going to come back and tell you exactly what we just said
No,
in
that's
terms
why we
of
should have
changing that
approved the
color.
first motion.
we should, yeah, and it's a
So
very prominent corner in our special neighborhood, and it looks industrial and out of place, in my opinion.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. I think I put it forward. Stephen seconded. And who do you want to go on with the vote?
Yeah. Hope.
If we vote for this, does this mean the roof is approved and this is just,
No, it's
Is
not.
the roof-
It's a continuation
Gotta
to
come
bring
back.
it back to us.
oh, we
with
can?
better-
Okay.
With better
Right,
solution.
but just
That's the
what Glenn
motion.
said, there's not another solution really based on costs and whatnot.
And then
So-
we'll have another chance to vote on it, is
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Right, and waste more
Okay,
time.
all right, well, yeah, I'll vote yes on the continuance.
Mitch?
No.
No. Stephen?
Yes.
Yes. Grace?
She had to step out for a moment.
Oh,
I am back. Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna vote yes.
you're voting yes. I'm voting Paolo, no. Philip, you made the motion. Your
Yes.
vote, yes. Stephen, you seconded it.
Yes.
Your vote is yes. So the motion to continue this was approved 4-2.
Thank you. Thanks for your
Glenn,
time.
Lori, thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, Desiree, design guidelines updates.
Yeah, so the Historic Landscape Subcommittee reviewed the landscape portion of the design guidelines. I think Hope was there. I don't know,
Yep.
Hope, if you wanted to share any highlights from that.
Yeah, I would say I'm grateful that they did that. And if anybody looks at what they did, it's kind of self-explanatory what they're suggesting. It's basically a restructure. And like with hierarchies, differentiating landscape from streetscape. So that all felt smart and useful. The only change that I really think that they found an inconsistency where we maybe we're in some places we're allowing vegetation as screening, but they're saying that's actually not to standard because of maintenance challenges there. So they fixed that.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe Desiree, you have this, they found some typos throughout. They think our ADU description is out of date. And they recommend like simplifying our process description as it could change with the city at any time. So that seemed wise, maybe just referring to the website.
Yeah.
But generally it was nothing nothing terrible. I don't think,
But
I don't
they
know,
added
Desiree, did you think
pages
we
and
even need to
pages.
review it?
Did they add pages and pages of red? Like I got to the point where I stopped reading.
I think it was just because they were cutting and pasting in a restructure. I don't think it was actually much change to text.
Okay.
Desiree, if I'm wrong on that, please say what I missed.
No, and I haven't had a chance to look closely, but I did get your summary, and staff is still, we are going to be looking at them. So I actually have a new staff member I wanted to introduce. I'll introduce him now, Jason Lilienthal. He's our new historic preservation lead planner, and he will be working with the Barrio with this board moving forward. So wanted to introduce him, and he's already started to look at the design guidelines. So we have a check-in, I think it's next week or the following, but to dig into that. As you know, I feel like a broken record, but we have been really slammed and behind schedule on a lot of things. This position was vacant for many months, and then summer vacation and, onboarding new staff. So we are focused on getting our minor reviews done and, moving our reviews forward. That is our first priority, but we will be, looking at this. So I think that perhaps we can incorporate, the recommendations here if we, we'll take a look and see if we have any additional recommendations. Maybe at that point, you can look at it all together, rather than kind of piecemealing it. So those are my thoughts.
Desiree, well, welcome, Jason.
Welcome, Jason.
But
Thank
does
you.
this, you, Desiree, will not be attending our meetings?
I will for the time being, but yeah, we are going to be kind of dividing and conquering our meetings. We have 5 advisory board meetings a month, and then we have 2 PRS meetings a month and a full commission meeting. And then there are like 5 other subcommittees that we don't always attend, but if there's some issue, we still help coordinate sometimes. So it is a lot. So yeah, we will be kind of breaking up. But if there's specific things I would, need to speak on, or, there's certain projects I'm working on that I would attend.
Okay. And Hope, when you said they recommend the landscape board, recommended that we change our description of ADUs, or can you clarify that?
That's just a note I have. I didn't look at it with them. This is and of course I can't remember his name. He's used to be the head of the Armory Park Board and now he's on the landscape board and he was just giving he said, oh, by the way, I also took a look generally and I noticed these things, the ADU description, like I said about the process description. So yeah, that was just something he said. I don't know why.
And are they going to propose an edit or was he
I
just?
don't know. It sounded more like no, because that's out of their purview. It just sounded maybe it's for Desiree and Jason to help us come up with the most recent, because we wouldn't know, right? Or you would be the best source for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can look at that. And I know some of the other districts are, trying to avoid getting too into the weeds with things and rather referencing, the code so that the guidelines can be more evergreen because these things change over time and we don't want things to go out of date, 6 months from now, a year from now.
Yeah, I think that's really good wisdom. I don't know what you all think, but we're not going to come back anytime soon, right?
Yeah.
Desiree, shall I say a little bit about myself, something about myself?
That'd be great.
Please, yes.
Okay. All right. So as she said, my name is Jason Lilienthal. I am originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I was born and raised in the state next door. So it is nice to be back to the desert Southwest among adobe construction. I myself grew up in an adobe home. We had cinder block up until grade. After that, it was adobe. My parents owned an adobe construction company. So the house I grew up in was built by family and friends, and it was built by the ground up with our own hands. So as soon as I could hold a hammer, I was helping out the family. For the last 12 and a half years, I spent in Texas. I was in San Antonio first doing my graduate work, and I was volunteering with the city of San Antonio's Office of Historic Preservation, where I graduated with a master's in history and also did graduate certificates in historic preservation and urban planning. Then after that, I found employment with the city of Houston Planning Department Office of Historic Preservation, where I was there up until about 4 weeks ago. And so I'll just say it's nice to return to the Southwest, blue skies, dry air, and mountains.
Thank you, Jason.
Great.
Very nice.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. I just want to say you could prove helpful from time to time with your Adobe knowledge. And also,
yeah, we have a whole section in our new guidelines about Adobe that if you had the time to review, that would be great because I added a lot of that. And
okay. Yeah, I already did a once over on it, and then I'm going to go down and do a little bit more detailed look at it. So I'll be taking a look at it. Then I will let you know I was the project lead for design guidelines back in Houston called the old 6-Board Design Guidelines. And I was part of the subcommittee for North Hill. These do take time to be going through the revision process. North Hill Design Guidelines back in Houston has now been going on for 2 years. So it does take a while.
We've got you beat.
Yeah, I heard something like 5.
5.
Yeah, but if you want to get it right, it's robust. It gives detailed and elaboration. This will definitely help going forward. And what I've learned is design guidelines are usually the more restrictive criteria, provides a lot more guidance and specificity than the UDC and the TSM.
Jason, I'm sorry if I missed this, but do you have direct experience with historic district preservation in historic districts? Residential or commercial, whatever.
Yes, I do. We have 19 in Houston, and I always worked a lot with the applicants, the agents, and the architects on doing ADUs, detached garages, additions, new construction, even some controversial ones where things were happening without a permit, and we had to go down the review process. So there is lots of that. There is not national registered districts in Houston. They have one called a multimodal, but we have a lot of city designated historic districts and city designated landmarks. So I worked a lot with those and making sure that any changes to it were going to be appropriate and compatible.
I have a question for you and Desiree. In terms of protocol, I was kind of reprimanded or whatever for going directly to the SHPO for some perspective. I was trying to do due diligence on a project that had been gone through some couple of reviews and was still up on the to be final reviewed. Is it appropriate for individual board members to seek counsel from you guys, from the city preservationists, for an individual board member to seek counsel doing due diligence on projects or applicability of either design guidelines or UDC sections for specific projects?
So like
Desiree?
going to like asking staff questions, like sending an email to us or something like that.
Yep. Doing due diligence, yes, as a board member.
Mhm. I can get clarity from our city attorney or, others who have, might have encountered this before. I don't think it's super common to hear directly from board members on items that are on the agenda of a meeting. Yeah, I would have to follow up and see. I mean, generally there's not a quorum, right? So it's not like an issue of if there is a quorum and there's like email discussion, that's clearly not going to be acceptable. But I would need to find out about just like one-off questions. I mean, I do think, going to SHPO, kind of anything that could be perceived as you representing the board, should be proceed with caution, I would say.
Should be done as the board, I think. I think the whole manner in which it was done, Stephen, was the issue. It felt like we were going to vote in a way that you weren't happy with, so you went beyond the board to try and justify not justify what we were going to vote on.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that myself, but I mean, I was just doing due diligence and in fact got I think, confirmation of a couple issues that a couple of us had brought up. I'll toe the line with whatever I'm supposed to do, but I disagree. I'm a constituent of the state Historic Preservation Office. And part of their mission, if you look at their mission and their guidelines, it is to help individuals in historic preservation matters. So anyway,
For sure, we can agree to disagree on that.
I mean, one thing I would say is I appreciate the research because I don't really have time to do it, and I think it can be useful, but I think it would be great to have a protocol in those cases that we follow. So what could Stephen have done that would have, or any of us could have done if we had those kinds of questions and we're not allowed to have an email discussion?
I think we need to have clarification because I think we could, if we were able to talk about these items outside of a board meeting, if that's possible, I think it would help a lot. And I think it would benefit the board. But Desiree, I don't know if that's okay with Robert's rules or whatever it's referred to as.
I agree.
Yeah, because these are public meetings, right? This is part of the review process as outlined in the UDC, and they're subject to open meeting law, so you won't be able to meet as a quorum,
But we can meet.
We
without.
can have
less than a
exceptional
quorum.
meetings. We can ask for exceptional meetings. They just have to be put public, made public aware and that if we wanted that. But on the other hand, I think we had a good example today where we put into a motion to do that research. I think
Right,
if we did it
yeah.
like that in the future, that would be fantastic, Like,
Yeah, I think,
even if you have a concern, I want to contact SHPO, are you guys agreeing with, put this in the motion, And then
yeah, I think
that's
that's
solved. Yeah.
typical. If there's a case where you feel like you have so many questions still and you don't have enough information to make a motion or to vote, then that's appropriate to continue the item and ask for whether it's staff or, yourselves to figure out, to come back with, or the applicant, right, to come back with additional information. I think that's typically how those types of things are handled.
I didn't only go to SHPO. I sought other outside counsel as well. Specifically from Damian Klinko, the head of the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation. And he provided me with an extensive, thorough letter that also confirmed my concerns. And so I was, due diligence is important to me. And I just don't see this as a problem. I'll follow whatever protocol we need to follow.
I mean, I agree with due diligence is important. I think you're allowed to go do that, and then you bring your discussion to the board meeting, and then there's a vote at the end of that board meeting. I think, I think Gustavo and probably Mitch were very surprised that that came up through email the day before.
Well, I never planned on submitting those two letters from SHPO. I fully expect, after Hope and I'm going to say most of it was me, I don't want to lay anything on you, Hope, expressed serious concerns in those first two review meetings. I fully assumed that they would do some due diligence and come back with a modified proposal.
And they didn't.
And then only when I saw that they hadn't, I thought, oh shoot, I've got to make these, submit these letters, these SHPO letters. So, I mean, yeah, to me, I was surprised that they hadn't modified, or at least some of their own due diligence.
So I think, I mean, we have to be careful not to open up a case that, we already discussed, I think. But the other thing is, I think, you didn't mention today these letters, which shows me if you did, then I think it would be more of a problem. Because this way, it was your personal research. You informed yourself. You were very well informed for today's meeting. But if you go alone and it feels like you are bringing in, we don't have an agreement on bringing in outside counsel, right? Like that would have to come from the board. And I don't think it's valid other than for forming your own personal opinion in this case. And as long as it's not used as an authority, it seems okay. If it wanted to be used as an authority, I think it would have to come from the board.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know how to back that up. That's just my.
Yeah.
No, I think, and Stephen, with his new information and due diligence, I mean, I have an open mind, and if there's new information that comes out with that due diligence, Stephen, I'm gonna listen to you.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I would be thrilled to, if I was in the majority on this, like on the reviews, I would have been thrilled to get this information. So, yeah.
You didn't try either, right? So you don't know if you were in a majority or minority or something.
Well, no, I didn't, but the vocal, I'm talking vocal, the people that voiced opinions. So yeah, so for the SHPO letters to be a surprise, that does not fly because the applicant and the architect had heard these concerns already expressed in two different preliminary reviews. So I mean, that shouldn't have been a surprise. So
sometimes I think continuances, which
go ahead, Hope. I'm sorry.
It's hard for us to make a harsh decision, right? And so we end up continuing when in fact, I'm not talking about this case in particular. I'm just saying it feels like we do that out of courtesy, right? Literally, but it ends up prolonging and maybe masking the real concern.
Yeah.
Because it's so harsh.
And Jason, I think we should really try to get some sort of knowledge on what is proper as far as individuals contacting you guys at city staff, and then also, things like, individuals or how we go about as a board, I should say, you know, approaching SHPO or things like that.
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
I just want to respond to Hope. I agree with you. And without going into specific cases, you know, we have three options: continuing in a way, denying, or approving. And the continuing is the one that gives us the biggest chance to review again and improve, right? Obviously, if we don't think it has any chance, then we deny. But then that often means it won't come in front of us anymore.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, good point.
There's also approving with conditions, which maybe you're
Yes,
including that,
yeah,
and
that's true.
but
Are we
okay.
finished? Anybody else?
Bye.
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I'll
I'll
second that.
second.
Steve, oh, thank you. Philip,
Yes.
Mitch.
Yep.
Grace.
Yes.
I
Hope.
lost my train of
Steven.
thought. Thank you, Philip.
Yes.
Paolo, yes. Stephen.
Yes.
Motion approved to adjourn today's meeting. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you guys next month.
Pleasure
Bye.
meeting you guys.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye.
evening.
Bye-bye.
Everyone, bye, Jason.